How y'all doing this evening? I heard a fine. I heard a woo. What we got over here? Awesome, awesome. It's so good to be back. I heard y'all had a fun week without us, though. I did hear that you had a good time.
It was yummy.
Which is awesome. So let's sing We Welcome. And we're going to welcome those who are still on their way. Welcome those who are new to this evening. And welcome ourselves into this precious space. Here we go, y'all. Come on in. We welcome. We welcome. We welcome you. Come on in. We welcome. We welcome. We welcome you.
Let go.
Be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy, and cheer. So come on in.
We welcome.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in. We welcome you.
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you. Let go. Be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy, and cheer. So
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you.
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you.
Come on in.
Let go.
Come on in.
Be free.
Let go.
Let go.
Let go.
We welcome you. Let go. Be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy, and cheer. So
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you.
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you.
Come on in.
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 Come on in. We welcome you. Come on in. Yes. Welcome, welcome. Let's take a collective breath here. And so we just settle into this moment, this precious, precious moment where we sing or we listen to the truth of the peace and the joy and the love that is present right where we are. And when we recognize that, we see it everywhere. Yeah. Reveal, reveal
The love inside of me.
reveal the love that I was meant to be.
And every time I open up,
Love is what I see. Reveal the love in me. Reveal, reveal the peace inside of me. Reveal the peace that I was meant to be. And every time I open up, peace is what I see. Reveal the peace in me. The joy. Reveal, reveal the joy inside of me. Reveal the joy that I was meant to be. And every time I open up, joy is what I see. Reveal the joy in me. Reveal, reveal the love inside of me. Reveal the
love that I was meant to be. And every time I open up, love is what I see. And every time I open up, peace is what I see. And every time I open up, joy is what I see. Reveal the love in me.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. So let's just take a nice deep breath in. I just let go and I let God. I just let go of everything that it took to get to be in this place, in this moment. I just let go of all that busyness, of all of that activity of this day. I just let go. I let go and I let God. I let go and I become present to this moment, the power of it. And as I let go, in that stillness, in that power, I can begin to remember, I can begin to recognize that there is a power, a presence at the very center of my life, the very center of all of life, for it is life itself. And so in that truth, I open, I relax, I open to the blessings, I allow. For I know that it is Spirit's good pleasure to give me the kingdom, to give each one here the kingdom. So I know that everything and anything that is needed and that is necessary has already been given. So I know that the activity that takes place right here, right now, is an acceptance, a receiving, an allowing. And so I just accept the blessing of this evening for each one here, knowing that it is truth revealed. And so that is very, very, very good. And so I allow it to be. And so it is. So the reading for this evening is from Joel Goldsmith. It is from Spiritual Interpretation of Scripture. Sounds a little daunting, but it's pretty good. Every individual in the world has within his own consciousness every invention, every art that was ever known. We are the embodiment of every law in the universe. Through a process that we call learning, we seem to be taking in a little metaphysics today, a little music tomorrow, while the truth is, they are already a part of our consciousness, and our awareness of them is only unfolding by degrees. There are people who are able to grasp these things without going through the usual process. This is cosmic consciousness. This explains child prodigies. These people are universal mind without any obstruction. The closer we get to the realization of this universal consciousness, the more infinitude becomes apparent. Truth is not added to your consciousness. It comes through unfoldment. So Our so-called human consciousness is a shutter. At one point, it emits very little light. Opened a little more, it emits more light. And as we become more and more spiritually minded, the shutter opens wider and wider until eventually all humanhood disappears. The full light then shines through. We cannot increase our consciousness. It is infinite already, but we can become aware of its infinite nature. You cannot add to yourself. You cannot even become more spiritual or more wise, but only more aware of the infinity of your own spiritual consciousness. In proportion as you realize that God is the mind, substance, and spirit of you. So, Reverend Sunshine's talk tonight is Be Evolved. Let's do that.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for that beautiful reading and that beautiful prayer. That was amazing. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Some of you haven't seen me since I got my hair cut, huh? I know. I like it. Wow. So I'm so grateful that Marissa was here last week. I hear lots of you really, really enjoyed her message, and even folks who were live streaming really, really enjoyed her message, and I was really glad to be able to have her here to really share her story and her book and just the consciousness around money, which was just kind of a little bit of a deviation from getting all booked up, but very much in line with our Science of Mind principles. And you know, it's one thing to miss out, but I'll tell you that I missed last week because I was with a gang of ministers in San Clemente, and we had a blast, and it was a wonderful way for me and for a gang of other ministers, especially even ministers from here and from all over the country, and actually we had a minister come from the United Kingdom and things like that. We had an opportunity to really bond and get together and really, really get filled up and get loved up. And that kind of peer love is important. And so I'm on fire today. And I can't wait to bring you a message today. But one of the things that we started last month is this extended share and hearing from one of our very own community members, from our very own spiritual community, sharing a little bit about what it's like to come on Wednesday nights, on Sundays, what it's like to be in classes, what it's like to learn about our Science of Mind principles and apply them and what happens. And so from among us, we get today to hear from a magnificent woman who's been coming to our center, who's been coming here. You know her. You see her every week unless she's out of town or doing something, because she's here with us all the time. She's contributed to the Science of Mind magazine. She wrote a little bit about revealing and healing, and it was a little bit about our revealing service here. And she's just a joy to be around. Right now, what I can tell you about her is that the love that comes forth from her heart for our community and for her own spiritual path is amazing. So please welcome our very own Catherine Dietz. Let me know if that works for you. Yeah? Perfect.
Nice and tall. Thank you. Really, really excited to be here tonight, and I'm very excited to share my experience with the Science of Mind philosophy. It's had such a huge contribution of value to my life, so I'm really excited to share that with you. And I'm just going to dive right in. I was introduced to the Science of Mind philosophy about 10 years ago. I was going through a divorce at the time. I was in a 13-year relationship that was pretty unhealthy the whole time, and I didn't believe in myself enough until I finally did. And I was brave enough to leave that relationship. And my counselor at the time, even though I wasn't asking for spiritual guidance, she handed me a copy of the Science of Mind book and suggested that I read it. And anybody who's read the Science of Mind book probably realizes it's not an easy read. You don't sit down and go, yay, I get to read this. But there was something about it that just resonated down to the very core of my soul that really spoke to me. And I ended up getting my own copy, gave her copy back, and I have literally read this cover to cover several times over the years. And it has helped me so much. And I think what really resonated with me was that it was reminding me. It was reminding me something that I had forgotten about myself. It was reminding me of all of our truths, that we are divine, that we are an expression of God, that we do have value to contribute, and that we do deserve, we're worthy of an amazing life. And another thing that it did for me was really help me understand that my thoughts shape my life. And I was not aware of this at the time. And when I became aware of it, I became painfully aware of how negative I was at that time. I was gossiping, I was complaining, I was quick to come in and talk about all the terrible news that I had heard the night before. I was putting so much focus on negativity. And once I realized this, I consciously thought, I'm going to start paying attention to what I'm talking about. I'm going to start paying attention to what I'm listening to, what I'm watching on TV. And just naturally over time, as I put more and more awareness on the truth instead of all the lies, just naturally all the bad stuff just kind of started to fold away. And I changed myself into new patterns that brought inspirational movies instead of horror movies, and happy people instead of unhappy people. And this just kind of naturally happened as I put more focus on the truth. And so as I started embracing this form of life, I started recognizing my value and what I had to contribute, and a whole new world opened up for me. And I realized that I had a passion to help others heal. And I thought it was going to be in the medical field, and so I left my 19 years of being a legal secretary and went to school full-time and became a cardiovascular technologist. I worked at Scripps Memorial in La Jolla for a few years, and while I was there, became even more aware of a different level of healing that I wanted to help people with, and decided to leave that job at Scripps and start my own practice. And I ended up learning how to do healing touch, which is a form of energy healing, and I also became a Heal Your Life teacher and coach. And Heal Your Life is based on Louise Hay, who was actually a Science of Mind minister years and years and years ago. And for a number of years, helped lots of people, eventually went off on her own, and has helped millions of people heal their lives through the Science of Mind philosophy. She just delivers it slightly differently than Nurse Holmes does. Today happens to be her 88th birthday, October 8th, Louise Hay's 88th birthday. So I feel very honored to be talking about what she has contributed, what the Science of Mind has contributed, and how I'm helping others heal their life these days. I'm very passionate about helping people return to their value. It's something that really made such a difference for me when I read Science of Mind and started reading all these other books that supported that. That's been my biggest anchor over the years, is reading. And we all need our own practice to remind ourselves of our truth. Coming to Wednesday night service is a beautiful thing. Reading, listening to inspirational music, becoming part of workshops, whatever it is that speaks to you, that reminds you of your truth, I highly encourage you to do it as often as possible and as consistently as possible, because it helps you keep in line with your truth. And the more time and the more consistently you spend your focus and your time on the truth, the more natural it just becomes. It becomes a way of life. It becomes an evolution. Be evolved, as the message today is going to be about. So that has been just an amazing experience for me, and the Wednesday night service has been a beautiful thing. Interestingly enough, when Reverend Tammy was here, I really absolutely loved her a lot. And when she was leaving, the same day that she was leaving was the same day that my yoga teacher told me that she was leaving. I thought, oh my God, I'm using my yoga teacher and Reverend Tammy in the same day. And then Reverend Sunshine came in, and little did I know that I would love her just as much in a different way, different delivery, different style. And so I think we're always, if we're open to it, if we're open to receiving, then we receive the messages as we're supposed to receive them, when we're supposed to receive them, and they help us right when we need it. We're always getting the information we need when we need it, if we're open to it. So this is my path. This is something that I have chosen to joyously walk, and I'm very happy to be on this path. I just want to remind everybody that everybody has their own path. And whatever your path is, the more you tune in to that inner voice, the more you tune in to that spiritual guidance, the easier your path will be. And embrace it and nurture it and do whatever you can to listen to your path, because you are meant to be that person. You were born to be that person. You were born to serve in a certain way, whatever it may be. And typically, whatever you're passionate about, whatever is easy to talk about. As I'm up here, I thought I was going to have to read all these notes, but I'm actually doing pretty good without them. So whatever your passion is, listen to it. And even if it seems undoable, or and I just can't do that, I can't afford to leave my job, just keep on listening to it. Keep on listening to it, keep on nurturing it, and find whatever way you can to support yourself in following your path. And it really, really is just a huge gift to yourself and to the world. You're meant to be you. And so as I close, I just want to share a little poem that I created a couple years ago. It was a fun way for me to put into a rhyme what I wanted to affirm for myself, what I wanted to affirm for others and the world. And it just came flowing out of me one morning when I decided to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and share it now. I am rich, I am free, I am happy to be me. I am love, I am light, I express with pure delight. I share wisdom, I share love, all from the source above. I teach others to reveal the things they need to heal, to use the light within and the tools to make amends. For when we truly see what we are meant to be, we can only help but heal and express the love we feel. And when that love is felt, the anger starts to melt. We then reach out to others, all of our sisters and brothers. There is no need for divide or to be on opposite sides. We are all a part of this divinity and all of its limitless energy. I love you, I love me, and I am happy to be free. So thank you very much for letting me share my story. I hope you know and feel how truly magnificent you are, and the light within me honors and recognizes the light within you, and namaste.
Namaste. One of our own. Thank you so much, Catherine. Let's give her some more love. That was amazing. You know, one of the motivating factors for having someone come from among us, just from the audience, to simply share what their experience is about, because sometimes it's really easy to come to spiritual community and to see the preacher or the teacher or the priest or the prophet, or to see the minister up on the stage spewing and talking about how great life is and this and that and the other thing. And, you know, sometimes we sit in the audience kind of going, yeah, that's easy for you. You've chosen this path of, you know, spirituality, so all you get to do is be home all day and om and meditate and read spiritual stuff, you know. You don't really have a life like the rest of us. You don't have trials and tribulations. You've married God, and, you know. And so, of course, your life cannot be anything like mine. And that's the motivation, so that we have an opportunity to see that these spiritual principles work, period. The thing is that, are we going to be evolved enough? Are we going to participate in using the principles that are available to us to expand our life? Our reading today out of the Science of Mind book, as we get all booked up, you know, I was looking at my talk titles for the rest of the year, and it's like, here we are in October, and I have all the talk titles for the rest of the year, but I'm going, wow, there's not that many left. You know, as we look at finishing off 2014. And I had the opportunity to reflect for a moment that pretty soon, those of us who started in January are going to be able to go, wow, I've been able to read the Science of Mind book in 1 year, because we have the little index, and every day we read a few pages in different parts of the book. And how amazing it is that if indeed we started in January, or if we just, you know, started last month or in August, that wherever it is that you pick up, you can just start reading those pages, and within the next year, voila, be complete with reading the Science of Mind book that was given as a gift to Catherine, and as she read it, things opened up. All of a sudden, there was this sense of whoa, this resonates. This sounds right. I remember that being my experience in foundations class. You know, they say that the more intelligence we have, when they do autopsies on intelligent people and even folks who are not as evolved, but you can tell the intelligence of a person based on the wrinkles in the brain. You know, I guess that's the first time everybody wants more wrinkles, right? Otherwise, it's like wrinkle prevention. Don't smile. Don't smoke. And I remember being in foundations class and being taught by Michael Beckwith a little bit about just foundations and about this idea that this power and this presence that we talk about so much, that we sometimes title God or life or love or joy or whatever name we give it, whether it's Allah or whether we call it the Most High or creative intelligence, but this energetic that we call God as a placeholder, that it is not somewhere outside of us in heaven ruling over or taking notes as to whether we're good or bad, but that this divine intelligence is living and having its being as me, as you, as each of us, as everything. And I can remember all of a sudden just that sense of, whoa, this feels right. It's kind of like putting on a garment that just fits, and you look in the mirror and go, dang, I look good in this, and this fits me so well, or a pair of shoes or something that just fits. Like that bit of information fit so well that I remember so vividly, like a new wrinkle forming in my brain. Like this new pathway of intelligence was just revealed to me. And it was then that I even became more thirsty, more hungry, that I began yearning to know more of the truth. The truth of life, the truth of my life, the truth of all life. And that's the kind of yearning, the kind of desire, that seeking that is necessary for us to evolve. Now, interestingly enough, Joel Goldsmith, which is the reading that Sharon read, reminded us of the truth that we cannot add an inch to our life. We cannot add any spirituality or any grandeur to our life, because that's already who we are. We're already life. We are already God. We are already the beautiful and magnificent way that God is dancing on this planet. You can't help but being God. You can't help but being the way life eternal expresses on this planet, in this dimension, in this form, in this body, right now. Can't help it. But what happens for us is that we forget that this is our truth. We forget and we begin to call ourselves mere mortals instead of the divine humanity that we are. We begin to think that we are prone to lack and limitation and illness, and that we're prone to sorrow and doubt and fear and morbidity and wars and rumors of wars and reports of wars, and that we're doomed to a vicious end of life, when in fact our lives are eternal and life could never, ever end. The body may fade, but our life is eternal, because our life is that life that is God. That when I begin to just simply shift my focus away from lack and limitation and recognize and begin to count the ways, like Michael Frank sings, "Oh, let me count the ways." When we begin to count the ways that our life is so abundant, so rich, so prospered, and begin to focus on what we have instead of what we don't have, begin to bless what we have, begin to be grateful for what we have, begin to recognize that our life is that life that God is, that's when we begin to experience more of it. But to the degree in which we choose to deal in lack and limitation and just kind of hang in that low vibration and that energetic that's lethargic and that's so turgid and so thick and I'm tired just thinking about it. I'm broke. I'm so broke I can't pay attention. I got the doctor's report. You know, it begins to sound like an old country song. You know, the wife, the husband left, the dog died, you know, the truck done, the clutch went out on the truck. They repossessed it. You know, when we hang out in that energetic, we get more of it, right? And that's when we find ourselves going, oh, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, guess what? Bam, it's going to drop. Because that's where we're focusing on and that's what we're paying attention to. But unless we can somehow begin to just even make a tiny shift in the direction towards what it is that we want to experience, in the direction of truth, grand things begin to happen. Here's a great point. Let me see. There's a clock in the back. You can take a look at that clock, right? If I am a ship sailing and I want to get to that clock, but I'm facing this way, I'm not going to make it. Look where I'm headed. I'm head out the door, out the exit sign, that away. If I shift just a tiny bit. Did you see the shift? Hello? It was just that tiny, from here to here. In the long run, bam, I've hit my target. That's a huge span that in the long run, just that tiny shift gets me on point. So we're not talking about, or let me just say, I'm not talking about making the change from here to here, which is huge, or even here. I'm just talking about a slight shift in our perception, in our view, that will put us on point. That as we then continue to stay in that direction. A friend of mine used to say, it doesn't matter how big the steps are that you're taking as much as it matters what direction you're facing. Because we can be taking baby steps in that direction and be right on point, and they're baby steps. Or we can be taking giant steps away from the truth of who we are. In our reading today, Ernest Holmes talks about the importance of evolving. He says, even though this process of evolution is still taking place, has not stopped and perhaps will never stop, because we shall forever unfold, even in the state of incompletion. Our state of evolution, the purpose of our evolution is that we might know our life, that we might become self-realized, that we might know our life as God. But we got to be hungry. We got to be thirsty for it. We have to at least kind of want to know for ourselves. You know, in Science of Mind philosophy, we talk a lot about moving from in the four kingdoms. You know, Dr. Michael Beckwith talks about we're victims, and then we come around to Science of Mind philosophy, and we learn that by the power of our word, by where we put our attention, by our focus, we can manifest and create things. And then after that becomes boring because we've created, you know, the perfect parking spot, the prince or the princess, and the palace. You know, it's just like, this is getting really boring, you know. I'm just kind of creating this great, fabulous life for myself. Now what? You know? That we allow life to happen through us, and then that we recognize as we evolve that there is no separation, that life is just us, and that we're just in this flow of life itself. And that process is indeed an evolutionary process. And, you know, this week, actually today, we came across, during our ministers' listserv, we have an email list of all of our ministers, and we kind of always like to share things with one another. And of course, there's no coincidence that everything is in divine order. Because as I was talking with Catherine earlier, either everything's in divine order or it isn't. And I just get to get with the program, knowing that we get what we need when we're available and open to it, and that it unfolds perfectly. And I came across this minister who just kind of put this on our email list, and it was amazing because it's right on point. Tell me if you find yourself in any one of these stages, and there's no judgment, but when we know where we are, then we know where we get to evolve to, right? If we want to. So these are like the stages of faith. The stages of faith. So stage 1, you know, this is the stage of kind of like preschool children when they don't know the difference between fantasy and reality, and they sometimes get it mixed up. You know, to simplify this kind of stage 1, when we're talking about faith, this is kind of also where the God of your understanding has been picked by your parents or by society. And to even break it down and be a little more simple, you know, people who are stuck in this stage are usually like selfish and self-centered and often find themselves in trouble because of unprincipled living. You know, it's just kind of like, hey, I got my parents' God by default. Really? Like, it's just something we do. There's no ownership there. And there's varied between what's real and what, you know, is God Santa Claus or is God God, or, you know, like, what is it, right? Stage 2. This is kind of when we become school age, right? And we start understanding the world in a more logical way. There's a rhyme, there's a reason, there's things that happen logically, and they're generally we generally accept stories that are told to us by our faith community, like the parting of the Red Sea, or feeding the multitudes of people with just, you know, a couple of loaves, you know. Yeah, you know, so we still believe those stories in a sense. Now, there's some logical reasons behind how it all happened. You know, so stage 3 is kind of like when most people move to this stage. It's kind of like being a teenager. Remember your teenage years? And some of you are going to be teenagers soon. I see some of our youngsters here. So in this stage, you know, this is at a point in your life where you've grown to include several different social circles, and, you know, sometimes there's a need to kind of pull it all together and make sense of life. And this is where, I don't really know if I kind of believe what my mom was talking about. I really want to branch out and kind of check out, you know, Buddhism, or check out this, or check out that, or, you know, maybe I'll, you know, become Rasta. Maybe I'll try the way of the natural herbs. This is that rebellion stage where it's kind of like, let me just leave that right back here and check out life for myself. And spiritually, when we're talking about faith, if you can really just kind of picture yourself kind of going in through those stages, you can kind of go, hey, okay, here's how I've been in like certain religions, certain ways of life, right? So stage 4, this is a tough stage. It often begun in young adulthood, when people start seeing outside of the box and realizing that there are other boxes. They begin to critically examine their beliefs with their own and often become disillusioned with the former faith. Ironically, stage 3 people usually think that stage 4 people have become backsliders, when in reality they've actually moved forward. Kind of putting it a little bit simpler, this might be you, I'm not sure. These are the people who break out of out of the previous stage, and they usually do so because they start seriously questioning things on their own. What is the real meaning of life? Do I have to just kind of, go to work every day? Like, when I look out in the ocean, what makes it really move? I mean, I know science tells me it's the moon. But, like, is there some is there some intelligence? Like, do I need to be genuflecting right now? Do I need to be, like, doing some sun salutations? Like, how do I connect? How do I connect? So stage 5, is this ringing true for some of you? Yeah? Maybe you can find yourself, okay, just kind of checking because I'm almost done here. Stage 5 is called conjunctive faith. It's rare for people to reach this stage before midlife. Interesting. Before midlife. This is the point where people begin to realize the limits of logic and they start to accept the paradox in life. They begin to see life as a mystery and often return to the sacred stories and symbols, but this time without being stuck in the theological box. So we begin to look at the stories of when the multitudes were fed with a few fishes and loaves, and they begin to realize that it wasn't some mystery or fantasy or just kind of some magic that happened, but indeed that was a changing of the mind of the community, and the community said, oh, well, I have some wine. Oh, well, I have some water. Or, yeah, I was holding on to this fish for a few days because I didn't know how long I was going to be out here, but if we're hungry, I'm happy to share my fish, and I'm happy to share my loaves. It wasn't some miracle that all of a sudden, boom, these plants are now edible and, they're, you know what I mean? But it was more of the changing, and that in itself is a miracle, to have people all of a sudden kind of go from selfish and self-centered to kind of going, well, I have this little bit, but if it helps to feed us, then we get to do that. So no wonder people think we're backsliding in a sense, right? Because now we're turning back to the sacred ways and the sacred stories, but now they're making sense in a beautiful and magnificent way. People who reach this stage, they start to realize that there's truth to be found in both the previous 2 stages and that life can be paradoxical and full of mystery. Emphasis is placed more on the community than on the individual concerns. So depending on where we are in our stages, I share that with you, because it's so fresh for me, and I'm going to really be diving into like dissecting that a little bit more and really recognizing where we are as a community. But am I hungry? Am I ready to evolve? Do I really want to know? No wonder it seems like when we look around in some of our communities, sometimes we go, well, where are the young people? They're in a different stage. They have yet to return back to the sacred, and some who have evolved enough or who are hungry enough to kind of get the knock on their hearts early enough to kind of go, wait a minute, this just kind of whatever unconscious living is not for me. This unexamined life is not for me. There's more. There's more. And when we begin to really recognize that there's nothing that separates our life from that life that God is, and we really begin to practice those things that put us on point to reach our goal, to reach this self-realization, to reach this knowing, that's when all of a sudden we just kind of feel that life is, ooh, so sweet. Everything is Irie, man. And we haven't been to the store with the little green cross. You know, that everything is really cool, that life is flowing, that everything is in divine order. Simply because we become thirsty enough, because we become hungry enough, because we begin to really question what we're being told. I promised you over the summer that I would remind you of this very point. The hype about flu season. The hype about scarcity. Don't buy it. Don't fall into the trap of looking at, oh, I don't have enough. Or, oh, it's flu season, I better da 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 da. But instead, recognize all of my needs are met. This body is the body of the divine. It is the divine way that life is showing up. My life is God. My life is God. The drop of the ocean and the ocean, that drop is still as much ocean as the rest of the ocean. That is who you are. You are that drop that is still all God, that is still all ocean, that is still all powerful, all knowing, eternally present. Even quantum physics proves to us that what is known in one place can be known and is known everywhere else, if we indeed simply allow ourselves to know it. I'm going to say this quickly, and then we're going to go into 3 minutes of meditation. Last Tuesday at the ministers' gathering, Reverend Dr. Kristen Hawkins did spoon bending with us. Here we are, a bunch of ministers, right? And we're doing the spoon bending thing. And sure enough, she has us test it out. This is not some flimsy spoon. It was, if I wanted to use my brute force, difficult to bend. And yet, so many of us, by simply recognizing the truth that there's one power, one presence, one life, that life is God and that life is my life right now. Recognizing that the spoon and I are indeed one, that there is nothing that separates me from that spoon, and that there is absolutely this point to where that spoon will simply allow me to bend it. That I did not have to force it. I just simply had to know that we were one. I just simply had to release and allow the spoon to bend and the fork to bend. And it was like popcorn, because all of a sudden somebody go, wow, because they bent it like butter. There were bends and twists. Even on the forks, the little, the little prongs were just all bent up. Amazing. All of my spoons were bent. I was in the advanced class. There's this idea of practicing a knowing and an allowing ourselves to just know our life as God. If you're tired of getting what you're getting, then stop doing what you're doing. And begin to just simply make the simple shift, slight, But in the long run, that will put you on point where you have this realization, wow, there's nothing that separates me from all of life. I belong to you, you belong to me. We're individual, but we're not individualized. We, collectively and individually, are the perfect and divine way that God is showing up on this planet. So let's take that into our silent time as I invite you to just take a moment to clear away anything from your laps, just as a symbol of letting go. And just taking a nice cleansing breath. And as you exhale that breath, know that it is life itself that you're breathing in and out. And that your life is life itself. That you are the unique way, the unrepeatable unique way that love and joy and divinity are showing up on this planet. That you, right where you are God expressing fully. My life is God, and I say yes to my evolution, my knowing of this truth, because it already is our truth. So we might as well know it. So in our time in the silence, I say yes to my divine evolution. I say yes to my divine evolution. My life is God right now. My life is God. My life is God. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I want to know more. I want a new wrinkle in my brain. I'm willing to make that little shift. I'm willing to sit in the silence 2 more times this week than I ever have before. I'm willing. I'm willing to simply open up a spiritual book and read something that's going to move me, shift me. Something that's going to open me up to recognizing a little bit more that my life is God. I'm willing to talk with a practitioner this week. Willing to go back online and maybe see some other talks. Be inspired. I'm willing to sit before the ocean. I'm willing to let love show me the way. I'm willing to know. Because when it happens for someone in our own spiritual community who's just like us, who comes out from the crowd and just shares that it's happened for her, well, gosh, when it happens for one, it happens for all. So just like it happened for her, I have my own path. And if I apply myself and seek to know and have this relationship with the God within me, with that life energy that is my life, that is the creator and the creative intelligence behind all things, then yes, I can stop living in lack and limitation and doubt and fear, and I can begin to really live the life of my dreams, the life that I know that I'm meant to live. So I just say yes. I'm saying yes this week. I'm saying yes right now to knowing a little bit more than I did before. I'm bad enough. I'm bold enough to do it. I'm worth it. When I look in the mirror, I want to see love and joy and peace and confidence. I want to see more of that because it already is who and what we are. So I might as well just accept it. Hey, we're bad. We're God. With a great and divine way that God is showing up on this planet. So we say yes to it. We allow it to be. And we allow our life to support this yes. So together let us say yes. 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 It is so, and so it is. Amen. Woo-hoo. I probably won't recognize y'all next week. You will have morphed and transformed into your greatness. Yeah. So, beloveds, as a spiritual community, what we know is that giving is a spiritual practice. So as I invite our ushers forward, Melissa and Dennis, I also invite you to take out your gifts, your tithes, your offerings, that which you've brought to share with the spiritual community. And I invite you to remember that giving is a spiritual practice, and that as you do so generously, you're simply giving from the overflow of that which you've already been given. You don't have to rob a bank or go grab it from anybody else. You have been given. And from that, we just take a portion and we share it with this spiritual community. That our programs, that our classes, workshops, our services are supported, and that they continue to be here for your benefit, that we might recognize our life as a life that is God. Recognizing our abundance, we just simply hold our gifts and our tithes and our offerings in our hand close to our hearts and give it a special blessing. And as we place it in the basket, as the basket comes through and comes by us, we simply knowing that that which is placed in these baskets are blessed. And not only are they blessed, but the giver is also blessed. So, beloved ushers, please go forth. Multiply this consciousness. And as you give, you receive. So please open your hearts and your ears so that you might indeed enjoy the beautiful music of Sunny Daye, Jim Bianchi, and Cole Miller.
Hey, everybody. Thank you again, Reverend Sunshine. Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be calm. You gotta stay cool. You gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Herald what your father says. Read the books your mother read. Try to solve your puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you. Others take a different view. My, oh my, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be calm, you gotta be cool, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Time asks no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, can't stop it if you try to. The best part is love is staring you in the face. Oh, listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead and release your fears. My, oh my, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta stay calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Yeah. You got to be bad, you got to be bold, you got to be wise, you got to be not too hard, not too hard, but open up your heart and love will save the day. Open up your heart, 'cause love will save the day. Open up your heart, love will save the day. Thank you, Tim. Thank you again, Reverend Sunshine. Thank y'all.
Sunny Daye, Jim Bianchi, Cole Miller. We have time to hear from one somebody. If you are somebody, raise your hand now. This is the part of our service where we actually get a chance to hear from you something that has been revealed to you, an insight, an inspiration, a comment, a success that you've had, just so that we can continue to hear from our own community how life is unfolding. You spoke already. Here we go. No, we already heard from Catherine. She's messing with me. She's like,
okay. Well,
hi, beloved.
Hi, honey. Well, this is a fun story. I've had this favorite Frisbee for over 10 years. And that Frisbee goes in the car with me, goes to the beach with me, goes to the mountains with me, it goes everywhere with me. Anyway, my husband and I are playing Frisbee in the surf, and many times we've almost lost it, and oh, there it is, we got it, you know. And then the other day we were playing, and
in the surf,
and whew, gone. And I was like, oh, man, no way, no, not the favorite Frisbee. And so, we thought, okay, let's do some mind treatment on this. Let's just know that the Frisbee's coming back, right?
Got it.
Well, anyway, it didn't come back. And then we just let go. I said, well, he says, this is hard for you to let this go. I go, no, I'm going to let go. I really am. It's had a good life. It had a good life. Well, anyway, about 45 minutes later, we're walking the opposite direction down the beach, and we're coming back, and I was playing out in the surf, and I came back, and right as I looked up, this guy's walking the opposite way with my orange Frisbee. And I said, hey, hi, hey, is that your Frisbee? Because I got one just like that, and I lost it. He goes, I found it about a mile down the beach, way the other way. I was going to go throw it away because I really don't play Frisbee, but I go, you're a blessing. Let me tell you, that Frisbee and I said, you are a blessing. And he goes, well, thank you, and it was just a really silly demonstration, but it was a really powerful little demonstration of letting go and having things come back to you in the most interesting ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us your name. Tell us your name, beloved.
Janice Hope.
Janice Hope. I love it. Janice just reminded us of, what is for us is for us. What is for you is for you. It can never be taken away from you. If it's for you, it's for you, and you shall have it, and it shall be yours. That's just the way it is. And so this orange Frisbee, how long have you and your Frisbee been together? Look at that. That's a long relationship. You've handled that Frisbee. Tossed it, and that's a great story. Thank you, beloved. I'm going to have to recycle that in one of my talks. The Frisbee. I'll call it the Frisbee. I think it might have been a boomerang in its last life because it came back to you. Maybe so. I don't know. Well, beloveds, our time is coming to an end for tonight. But the good news is that we'll be here next Wednesday. So come back next Wednesday, bring a friend, let them know how much fun you had tonight. Let them know what you're doing this week. Get some support this week in your spiritual reading and your meditation practice, your prayer work. Do something fun for yourself and recognize that too is a spiritual practice. All right? So our goal this week is to up our spiritual practice and evolve. Evolve in our knowing of the truth of who we are. Because we are already it. We are already it. We're just going to evolve in our knowing of it, right? So I want to thank our practitioner, Sharon De Leon, for a beautiful reading, for that beautiful prayer. And she's been sitting in the back just simply radiating the light, knowing the truth and the perfect unfoldment for our service tonight. She'll be available for prayer after service tonight. So if you'd like a spoken prayer, she will pray with you, knowing the truth for you. Right behind where she's sitting, there's also a box. If you'd like a written prayer, or if you just simply want the ministers and the practitioners of our community to hold you in prayer and to know the truth for and about you, fill out one of our forms and know that every week we get an email and we hold you in prayer in the strictest of confidence, and we know the highest truth for and about whatever issue you're praying about. I want to thank Tim Griffin. He's behind that camera right there, making sure that we are live streaming and being with folks throughout the world, and that it's available for us later on. Ed Reeves, our sound man tonight, thank you so much, making sure we sound great. Thank you for your service tonight. Also want to thank our band. We have wonderful musicians. Cole Miller, who you heard from him and his partner last week, and they just totally rocked the house last week for us. Thank you so much for the blessing of who you are, Cole Miller. You are truly, truly a gift, and we just want to take a moment to recognize you and to just love you. Yeah. And on his team tonight, Jim Bianchi. Jim, thank you. Amazing. And the beautiful sunny Daye, thank you so much. Thanks to our ushers, Melissa and Dennis, who took up our collection tonight. And thank you to Ginny for being our coordinator and making sure, there she is. She just walked through. She's always the busy one, making sure everything is unfolding perfectly and magnificently. And last but not least, thank you for being here tonight. Out of all the places you could have been on a Wednesday night, you decided to come here and to fulfill that hunger and quench that thirst. And not only did you get a chance to hear from me, but you got a chance to hear from Catherine. And thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing your gifts with us to know that it works. You know, if you have any questions and you want to pinch her to make sure she's real, she'll be standing out there too with me, and you can ask her any questions about her path and unfoldment. I'm sure she'll be happy to share that with you. All right, we are way over time, but nobody's moving, so I'm going to invite y'all to stand. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Come on up. Come on up. We're going to do our closing prayer. It is in our programs, but you'll be able to just kind of follow along. We like to do our closing prayer in song, and we have our beautiful girls here who are going to do the hand signals for us. So you make sure you follow them, all right? This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see, with open hearts and open hands. We lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see, with open hearts and open hands. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. I love you. See you in the family room. Good night, everybody.
Every little thing that you say and do, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. All those things that you forgot to do, just like a boomerang, they will come back to you. It will come back. It will come back to you. All the love that you gave is true, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. It may seem like fortune coming out of the blue, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. It will come back. It will come back to you. It will come back. It will come back to you. Come back to you. All right. Thank you, Cole.